Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining me for another installment of Daily Exercises. This is daily exercise number 9, so let's dive right in. Today's exercise is a very simple 4-note phrase that we're going to play in all 12 keys. It follows a circle of fourths, and you can get through it in about 15 or 20 seconds, depending on how fast you want to play it. There's also a bunch of different variations that work on different parts of your horn and throughout the range of the horn, so it's very effective for just getting used to moving between the different keys. Interestingly enough, I learned this lick in college from a friend of mine, but I found out later that it is from a series of Joe Lovano exercises where he picks different 4-note phrases and you mix and match them throughout all 12 keys. We're going to start with this one today. I'm going to show it to you, and then maybe we'll get to the other ones later. So as always, I'm starting in the key of C for me, which is concert B flat, for anybody else that needs to transpose that there. If you're a concert pitch instrument, you can just take everything I'm playing down a whole step. Now, something I haven't addressed before, if you are playing alto or bari, those are E flat instruments, and those are a fourth away from what I'm playing. So if I'm in C, for me, that is G for everyone else out there, for alto and bari out there. Now, just like with my melody and chord analysis videos, to my right, your left, you'll see the scales laid out as well as the notes of what I'm playing and the scale degrees. So you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And I've arranged them this way because as a saxophone player, I tend to think of things vertically because that's how the horn is laid out. So you'll see here, this is my thought process, a very simplified version. So I'm trying to give that to you so you can picture it on the horn yourself. So like I said, this is a very simple 4-note phrase that we're going to play in all 12 keys, and we're going to follow the circle of fourths, and we're going to start in C, which is concert B flat. And this is 1, 2, 3, 5 in all 12 keys. So in C, that is C, D, E, G, and F, it's F, G, A, C, etc., etc., etc. So it sounds like this. That's the phrase. So we're going to do it around the circle of fourths in groups of 2s at first. So it sounds like this. Simple lick, right? And I went pretty slowly and I got through it very quickly. Now once you get quicker at this, you can start playing it a little faster. And etc. You can get faster and faster. That took about 10 seconds to get through all 12 keys. That exercise alone is great. It works on working through scales and moving quickly and just getting that simple pattern under your fingers in all 12 keys. But very quickly, that can turn into an exercise where you are just repeating a pattern without thinking about what you're doing. And like I've said before in these exercises, you have to think about what you're doing in order for them to be effective. Like every time I'm moving through a key, I'm thinking of the next tonal center, I'm thinking of the tonal center in, I'm thinking of the scale I'm playing over, I'm thinking of the notes I'm playing, and I'm thinking of the scale degrees I'm playing. Even with a lick this simple, I'm thinking about all those things as I'm moving through it. To make this more effective as an exercise, there's a couple different ways you can go through it. So that was groups of 2. So you can also play it in groups of 3, and groups of 4, and groups of 5. So I like to vary these depending on what I feel like needs more work. If I've gotten too used to the groups of 2, and it's now just an exercise I'm blowing through, I'll go to groups of 3, or groups of 4, or groups of 5. So here's a group of 3, and here's what that sounds like. So as you can see, you still get through that very quickly, but it moves your tonal centers to different places. So you're playing with different fingerings, you're playing in different octaves, and the root movements are different. So the first one, you can remember the root movement is this. And this one, it is. Now groups of 4 are even more different. So in group of 4, you start low and you work your way up so you have room to play through all of them. So the groups of 4 sound like this. Since you're dealing with 12 keys, the groups of 4 is a pretty efficient way to do it. It's easier to wrap your head around because you move through a pattern of 4 and you do 3 patterns of 4 to get all 12 keys. So the root movements sound like this. And you're back to where you started. You can also do it in groups of 5, which is a little more challenging. And another one that I like, it's 2 groups of 5 and then 1 group of 2. And the last group of 2 can be moved around to different octaves depending on how you want to challenge yourself. So the groups of 5 sounds like this. Or those last two. Another way to go about this exercise, which is an effective thing for these four-note phrases, is to do them in octaves. So you start with C, and you do that in as many octaves as you can. And then you move to F. Excuse me. And so on and so on. If you're comfortable with altissimo, you can get 4 octaves out of a lot of these. Now, on top of these being efficient exercises for working on 4-note patterns, and like I said, you can change these up. Start with this one, 1, 2, 3, 5, and then you can do 1, 3, 2, 5, or 1, 2, 5, 6. Like, you can change up the patterns depending on what kind of a sound you're looking for. But this one in particular, you'll hear a lot of jazz musicians play it in a pattern over chord changes. You hear them do something like this, which, if you were paying attention, is a diminished scale, and every chord tone of the diminished scale, they're playing this pattern over it. Which is an interesting lick to play over like a 5 resolving to a 1. You can play a diminished scale based off the 5 and play that exercise over that diminished scale, which is a very interesting sound and a cool way to resolve from your 5 to your 1. Joey DeFrancesco, who died recently, you'd hear him do that a lot in chord changes, and it's interesting to know where he throws that in. But we can talk about that in another video. So there you have it. There's daily exercise number 9. You have an exercise you can play in all 12 keys rather quickly. You have 4 ways you can play it. It works on moving through your tonal centers, and it works on the range of your instrument. And it's something that's interesting that can be utilized for playing over chord changes. If you'd like me to talk more about that, how to utilize this exercise over improvisation, let me know in the comments, and I'll put something together for y'all. Also, experiment with it too. Learn it this way, 1, 2, 3, 5, in all 12 keys, and get comfortable with these different ways. And then, like Joe Lovano's exercises, find different patterns that you like the way they sound, 4-note patterns, and play them in all 12 keys. Just try to get fluent with it. So thank you for joining me. Smash the like button, and I'll see y'all on the next one.